Hi, everyone. Welcome to YouTube and podcast Talk About Life. And today I am so privileged to have a new friend from Canada, Diogene. He's actually dialing in from Montreal, Canada, and he will tell us a story. And because he's a new dad, I would like to congratulate him. The whole world should celebrate together. And not only that, I think he has got a very important story to share with us. And I think it's a time whereby these stories will also become one of the stories that he will show to his little baby when the little baby understands English. How beautiful is that? So we are helping him to document part of his history. So without further ado, and because his time is so precious for his wife, his baby, and himself, and I'm taking time from him, his new phase of life now, I would like to interview him for a very important topic of the millennium, which is not new, as I've said in the previous episodes. Man has actually traveled around the world. It's about migration and integration. And probably the mode of transportation has changed. Nowadays, people transport themselves virtually first. Like now, I am inviting and welcoming Diogene to Singapore. So he's transporting himself here already. And I'm transporting myself to Canada. So the mode of transportation is different. I'm not there, but spiritually, I'm already there. Right? Physically, I'll come a little bit later. But we didn't have that kind of privilege in our forefathers when people were just traveling around the globe. The nomads are traveling. They travel with the camels. They travel in search of food. They leave their families. The nomads have done it. That's why a lot of countries and continents are actually discovered because you've got lots of people who are traveling anyway. So, but what is more significant in these times is probably during this pandemic times on the 18th of December, all of us are not made to travel because we are made to keep indoors, right? But I think after all this is over, which the nightmare will be over very soon, when we wake up, I think people will be full of energy to really, go around the globe again. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would like to welcome Diogene to Singapore, and I would like him to introduce himself to the internet world and tell us where he's from, his background a little bit without divulging too much of his privacy, and also dive into this topic of migration and then integration. Hi, Diogene, how are you? How's the weather there?
I'm doing great, doing awesome, Vicky. Thank you for welcoming me, and thank you for making me travel virtually to Singapore. As I said before, it's really a country I would like to visit. I've only heard great things about it. I've also heard that it's
Thank you.
kind of a hub. Yeah, I also heard that it's kind of a hub from where we can travel to other Asian countries. So,
Oh, yes, that's true.
looking forward to doing that in the future. Yeah.
That's true.
So
This is the
to
point of migration, actually. Yeah.
okay, absolutely. So great, and I will introduce myself. So yes, my name is Diogene and Ntirandekura. So I have a first name that has Greek roots, but I have no Greek roots myself, and my last name is from Burundi. So it's a country, a tiny country in the eastern part of Africa. For those who don't know, it's a country that is neighboring Congo, neighboring Rwanda, neighboring Tanzania. So it's around countries that are, I can say, a bit more famous. Otherwise, actually, my parents fled the country, and I grew up and I was born in and raised in Belgium, in the capital of Belgium, Brussels. And for 20, almost 30 years, I've always lived there, even though I've always loved to travel. I know that traveling is kind of part of the subject, but I moved to Canada. So I moved precisely to Montreal, which is a French, mostly French-speaking city, one of the biggest French-speaking cities in the world. cities in the world, but you can get away with English also here. But that's part of the province of Quebec inside Canada, and I'm there since 7 years now. I really enjoy my life here. I really like it. So as long as I like it, I will stay here. So I'm a kind of double migrant, son of a migrant, and then migrating myself directly. But the difference, I think it's important to have the nuance in this show, is that one is immigration for survival, the other one is immigration to thrive, immigration to just trying something else. That's very different.
I think you're right. Because I have interviewed a couple of, I should say, professional immigrants. So people who are moving in search of better economic jobs, well-paying jobs, are really quite different from someone who's seeking asylum, swimming across the oceans. That is something that is too complex for us to um, with the little brains to understand. Even I think a lot of countries are trying to get a understanding of it. So, but for today's topic, I think Diogene can actually share with us his search for a better life, for economic um, independence, for economic prosperity, and in search of a better life for him and his children. And I think a lot of us deserve a decent life. I mean, we're talking about the millennium 2021 coming soon in a few days. Everyone deserves to live in a better way. I mean, I've heard about, through podcasts, young Venezuelans who are suffering really badly because there isn't any economic activity. People can't find jobs, and there's no money to be able to spend. So I think we are so privileged, Diogene, yourself in Canada, and let us have this conversation, honest and open. That is
Mhm.
these topics that about migration and integration. Let us have some of your experience and also some of these challenges that you had to go through to be able to integrate, and then share your learning experience to people who are about to venture out of their country, and also people who are about to uh, uh, immerse into a country but with difficulty. Let's help these people.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that we are encyclopedia, but I think it's like a support group to say that, hey, you're not alone. Somewhere down the line in the world, someone is have a same story as me. And I hope that with our conversation, talk about life, people can share some of these stories. And it's in this spirit that Diogene will share his challenge and some of the learning points and some of the successes that he has found. So tell us, Diogene, how was your first story that you went from Belgium to Montreal?
Yeah, so I wanted to, I will answer. Definitely, I wanted to also bring a caveat because some people also migrate with children, and when you're the need for integration, if I can call it like that, uh, you don't notice that when you're a kid, even
Mm,
though actually without noticing, you may engage into I don't know, we have behaviors that does not that can make you notice that you're different. And I'm not saying it negatively at all, but I will just give a simple example. Is when I was in so I grew up in Belgium, and when I was a kid in Belgium, uh, I will we all look at American TV or the cartoons, etc. And when we were at school, we would be trying to make Michael Jackson dances, for example, or we would recognize ourselves by mimicking what we were seeing with Will Smith at the French Prince of Bel-Air. So, but at that time,
mm.
you don't. At that moment, you don't think, "Oh yeah, I'm not integrating. I'm just." I will choose to follow Will Smith or Michael Jackson because they are black. No, you don't choose that. It's just naturally you think about that, and then you find yourself with other people that like those models, and maybe some adults may think, oh, those people don't want to integrate, or they no, but it's just natural. You don't even
Mm.
think about those things. Then when you become a teenager and you try to have a job, you try to um, you start to go out of your neighborhood, and you see a few things in the streets. Then that's when you start to notice, okay, actually, maybe I am different in the society, or maybe
Mm.
I have to do something else to be part of society.
I
Whereas
see.
some people, they don't need to do or be something else to be part of the society. They are included in society, in the good and in the bad things. If they do bad things, the society will see it as something that has to improve. If the person that is not seen as part of society does a bad thing, it's things that we think we should, how we can completely exclude that person, or can we exclude those behavior from society. It's very different. So you notice that when you grow up. Then for me, when I went to Canada, I was almost 30 years old. So I was already a grown adult, maybe not in all aspects, but in main aspects I was. And For integrating, for me, the particularity of my move is that I I moved with a job. So initially I wanted to just move for life and then try to find a job here in Canada, but I had the chance to continue with my. I just made a transfer with my employer in Belgium, and I went to the same office, so the same group, but in the office in Montreal. So on that side, it has made it much easier. That's for sure. One of the critical things to do with immigration, and mostly in North America, is the integration by work. So by finding a job. If you don't have a if you don't have a job, it's very difficult to access a lot of things, such as finding a house. I mean, a house or an apartment where you want to live.
Okay.
Finding a sorry, yeah.
Okay. I think we do a little bit slower because you are piling a lot of information, which I
Okay,
think
sorry.
viewers, no, which is so good, which is so good. And I would like to ask you more questions if you don't mind. And I think the listeners and the viewers will be really so interested. Okay, your life in Belgium, because you talked about issue of unconscious integration when you're a kid. You're growing up in this environment. Okay, you kind of like looked at Michael Jackson because they're similar to you, right? And so you kind of like emulated it and all this, because you're a kid, right? The world to you is a very innocent world, right? You just did whatever thing that you kind of made you feel as a kid. You just made you feel whatever thing is fun and whatever thing you could relate to unconsciously, right? As a kid. And then you grow up to be a teenager, then you start to be conscious about, hey, people start to distinguish me. Therefore, I noticed I am being distinguished, right?
Mhm.
Now, that is a very important point. And I think that point is the point that we should all be discussing about, which I think that is still at the headlines of the news, you know, headlines of the news. Because I think that part about the consciousness and people making you feel conscious, the
Mhm.
forces, okay, this is something that I think is like a bottleneck. Can I say that? And it's a bottleneck in many
Mhm.
communities. And this is the bottleneck that I think is going to take a long time. But if people do not talk about it and acknowledge that this bottleneck is going to be like you can't even open the bottle. It's always going to be stuck. It's a bottleneck. But I'm so glad you actually brought it up. And thank you for being so honest with that. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah, it's very good. Let's talk about that. Now, when you're a teenager, you start to consciously, because you mentioned you're conscious about the environmental community, the larger community. No more just about you and your classmates, like, the small little group, right? Because you were accepting each other, right? Because you don't see
Mhm.
differences when you're a kid, right? So when you grow
Yeah.
up, you're starting to try to integrate into a larger community. They try to think like, hey, um, uh, you are kind of like being excluded because you use the word exclude, and I think it's very good. Because if you are excluded, you will never be integrated because they're just
Mhm, mhm,
diametrically different. They are on opposing
mhm,
forces. Because excluded is a conscious way that you are out. Am I right to say?
mhm,
Yeah, integrate, it could be both sides, right? You try to come in a little bit and then you try to come in. I'm looking at from the English point of view, all right? And I
mhm,
like the
mhm,
way that you talked about exclude, right? You have the different kinds of pebbles and then different colors, and then you kind of like put the pebbles of green into a plastic bag, and then the pebbles of blue in a plastic bag, right? You kind of like start to do that, right? So you felt that. Can you give us an example that when you were growing up, what what experience, what case was it that you felt that it was this aha moment that you felt I was excluded? And it's like, oh wow, I never felt that before. Was there such a moment?
several little
Tell
moments,
us.
and when
Tell us
you
two. Tell us two moments.
one will be I started to play football. I mean football with the foot, not the football that we say in North America, like the soccer. And there, when I started to play, I know that, for example, my first coach, after I noticed it later, but I knew that my first coach was treating me differently, or than the whole of the team, and I was the only a black person in the team. Also, sometimes when I will play some games away, so when we play against teams outside of our own fields, sometimes I will hear some insults over there. I don't directly react to them, but I remember that there were some insults
Tell us.
specifically targeted at
Tell
me.
us. Tell us. What were these words, or what were some of these exclusion actions? We have to learn from some of these things so that people will not do it. You understand? If we are not honest about it, we don't know.
Mhm.
Now, I'm just going to be really honest with you. I'm a Singaporean, right? But I have an Indian friend who told me
Mhm.
on the program that when he was seated in the train, nobody wanted to sit beside him. And I was shocked because you didn't know that. And he's a professional, he's a professor.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if people don't say it, the community wouldn't know. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And he said that, I've been here. It's like as if when I go to the train, the Chinese didn't want to sit beside me. And I've observed that for all these years. I was thinking, oh no.
Mhm,
Oh
mhm.
no. But people have been unconscious. I was telling that we maybe people just didn't know. Just like when you were a kid, I think people just did not switch on the light bulb. So I think we have to have some form of education for everyone. Let's take it in our stride. Let's be positive. Come on. So I was like really
Mhm.
shocked. I say, hey, my friend, and no, I said, hey, wow, I was listening and I was really shocked, and I was a Singaporean. I didn't know what to, so it was something like, yeah, that must be a conscious effort. Because if it is being excluded, it could be conscious or unconscious, but the action was that it couldn't come in. But integration really sometimes need a lot of effort. And if we need to accelerate and shorten the curve, I think much more dialogues and much more commonalities and much more understanding should be shared. So I'm in your spirit, Diogene. Tell us, give us examples that you feel that, yeah, I was being excluded in the team. I didn't feel I was being welcomed. What was it? You have to tell. It's very specific. Otherwise,
Oh,
it's always
I've
in the headlines. Yeah, tell us. Tell people.
Oh
Tell
no,
the
no,
world.
so yeah, so there is one thing I remember very well was when it was my first year playing, um, a remark from a remark from the coach. It's the only coach in
The
which I had that
coach.
problem. All the others were good, but
Yeah.
my very first coach. So he said, um, that guy is I'm not tall now, was told then because my size has not changed. But uh, that guy is big, but he has nothing. He has nothing inside. So what it means, because I'm translating literally, what it means is that that person is tall, but he has nothing inside the brain. So that's crazy. Maybe when at that moment I did not realize. I realized that it was something negative, but I did not realize how disrespectful it was. It's crazy when I
At
grow
what
up, when I
point
think of
in
it. I'm like, oh,
time,
that's
at
a
the
huge
later,
insult.
yeah, at what point in time did you start to realize? How long did you take? Days, years, weeks? How long did it take?
No, directly I understood that it was something negative. But
Okay.
when you grow up, you understand better what it means. But you know that it's negative. You don't really know what it means, but you know that it's negative at that moment. That's one thing.
Mm,
Or the maybe other things I could use in other contexts as well is the fact that when I would be with friends when I was a teenager in Brussels, and I'm
mm,
not saying I'm not saying that it happens every day,
mm.
but
Okay.
usually it would happen one day to many immigrants is getting being controlled by the police just because you're walking or when you're in the metro station. It was
Explain, describe,
completely random. Well, it's just random.
describe.
Like you're inside the metro station and you're waiting for the metro with everybody else, and you're with one friend, and then you're just getting controlled. You're just
Control
getting
means
asked if you.
being checked.
It means it's. I was yeah. It
Okay.
means asking if you have your identity card. So you have to
Okay.
have your identity. It's part of the law. You have to have your identity card as soon as you're 12 years old. I think it's
Mm,
still valid now in Belgium. You have to have your identity card. So you're being asked if you have your identity card,
mm.
if you have your transport card. But it's like they only ask you. They literally only ask you,
I
and
see.
no one else is being asked. So it's not something
And
that
you grow
happens
up
every
in
day.
Belgium, right?
Yeah.
And you speak the language, right?
Yes.
And Belgium, they speak Flemish.
Actually, there are three languages. There are three official languages, but I don't. So there is French, Dutch, German. I native French, and I can express myself pretty well in Dutch. German I
Okay.
don't speak. No,
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
was living in Brussels, and Brussels is a bit. Most people speak French, but it's officially bilingual, so French and
Yeah.
Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you felt that as you grow up, you felt that these things when you did not feel when you were young because you were just um, kind of like sheltered in a very small environment. But as you grow up, you felt that hey, these forces is coming onto you, and you find that it's unnecessary. Um, can I say that? And I'm just gonna be really really honest with this question. With all these things that sometimes becomes expected and then repeated, okay, but not repeated every day, maybe like once in a while, intermittently. Did you feel anger? What kind of feeling goes into your brain, your mind, your heart?
No, no. I think today, no, not at all.
Or
But
did you feel that
at,
you were being,
at
yeah,
that time is more when you are younger and you are
yeah,
a bit more
yeah,
idealistic. You would
idealistic.
like kind of everybody to be treated the same, so you feel, oh my god. But okay, now it's not that I am okay with it or happy with it, but uh, it has to be a fuel to go and realize everything that you want to realize in your life. No one has to stop you. So that would be my main message. Let's not make any negative things that happens to us
Yeah,
our identity. It is not our identity. It is the identity of the person that has tried to cause harm to you. It is not
yeah.
your identity.
Mm,
Your identity is the identity, any identity that you want to have. So it
yeah,
doesn't have to
yeah.
stop you. So it has actually never really stopped me in anything that I
Stop
wanted to
you.
do. But it's just part of a reality that you have to be conscious that in some circumstances, yes, you will be treated differently, and that's just the reality. It's not trying to create a victim. No, it's true. It's just the truth. But that does not prevent you to do anything. So that's really something that every immigrant has to keep in mind. Whatever the difficulties that are put to you for your life or for your quality of life, etc., that cannot stop you for what you want to do legally and and with a good spirit. Yeah.
And I think you have put it in the right spirit. And if anyone is going to leave a country, they must have that kind of mindset first, right? Number one, I think nothing is going to stop. I think you are giving something that is very powerful in what you just said. Um, and I think this is very powerful for you as a message, even for your child, right? Nothing is going to stop you. Not even other people's how they view you or how they have kind of like a perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing about and I see that you're also one of the business consultants, right? You know, there's something called the perception in business, right? It's like you view the world the way you perceive, and the perception can come in many different ways, right? You can actually there's a different kinds of psychological group psychology in management. It could be halo effect, it could be projection, it could be extension, it could be reflection. You know, many ways of
Mm-hmm.
perception, and some of these perceptions are just a simplified way of knowing the unknown because you don't know
Mm-hmm.
the other side. So I think in this millennium, in the year 2000, and now we are 20 years after 2000. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
so fast, right? It's the new millennium, 20 years into the millennium, and then we are into 2021, and we're already crossing over the huge pandemic of the world in human history. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there must be something good that comes out of this. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think we need to really
Yeah.
strive.
uh,
Yeah, tell us.
uh, what it can do is make everybody conscious. So I mean, more people in the Western world maybe conscious that life can throw at you
Yeah.
problems and big problems that you have zero control over, and your own also your own government might
Yeah.
also throw at you problems you have zero control over, but
Yeah.
you are heavily impacted. And that is the reality for many people in many countries, and that is sometimes why they want to immigrate. So
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing is I hope that it has raised the consciousness around the world about the fact that anyone in the world can have, or any country in the world can be facing huge problems and crises, whether they are economic or they are also health related. Uh, it can happen anywhere. I hope that it will be that. I'm not sure. Only time will tell. I cannot
Yeah.
say anything.
Exactly. Exactly. And if I think if any good comes out of this pandemic, people should not go back to the old normal. People should really emerge to be wiser. That's what I'm trying to say. If people have used 2020 to really sit down and ponder what are the things that we should learn, if really we should really sit down. And the thing is that we are given this God-given time of 1 year to be locked down to think.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
people didn't take this time to think, and when we emerge from the pandemic, I think it's a wasted year. To me, it's like it's such a good, valuable time for us to really think about these learning lessons, about the world, about humanity, about issues, about starting conversations, about
yeah,
commonalities, about diversity, about like what you say, our lives are not in control of our hands. Right. I mean, no matter what you are, and the Dr. Moby was saying that, you just need such a small little thing to kind of demolish the whole of humanity. It's a doctor, you know, and the thing is that the virus is no respecter of persons. It doesn't really care. It doesn't really care.
Yes.
It doesn't, it really doesn't, it really, really doesn't care.
Yes,
You can't
indeed.
really communicate
Indeed.
with it. So I mean, if people take this time, 2020, and that's the reason, and that's the spirit of us having this conversation, we meeting across the globe. And
Mhm.
let's raise our voice and let's raise this consciousness, like what you say. To me, is such a calling
Yeah.
that, if we
Mhm.
don't take this time to really speak with one another when we are being in lockdown, when we go back to our normal lives, when we are busy with our handphones, with the Facebook, with the YouTube, and then with the tick, 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 click, 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 and then with your jobs, with everything that is pulling the forces of your brain and your eyeball, we wouldn't be able to solve a lot of things that we have the time and opportunity to solve, like what you and I are doing now, right? So I would
Yes,
think,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah, I mean,
I agree, but again, yeah, I think time will tell. I think you are, and the way you talk about it, Vicky, I can see you're passionate about it, and you're right. You have the right reasoning behind that, but that does not mean that this is what will happen. It could be.
yeah,
I would not be surprised if a good portion of the population at a global
of
level
course,
is just waiting to go back to whatever they were doing. And it doesn't mean that they are always doing bad things, but
yeah,
one thing about the virus, and we can use the the symbol of the virus in all aspects of our life, is the fact that yes, it does not
symbol of our
discriminate.
life.
It can touch anyone, but the best way to fight the virus is to improve as much as we can our immune system. So I don't know how it is in Singapore, but I have not seen in the big media. I have not been on the media every day, but I have not seen in the big media a lot of shows explaining to us how we can boost our immune system. And one thing that we need to think about is not only from a health perspective the immune system, but your immune system in everything in your life. So what is your immune system? How can you improve your immune system in terms of your finances, in terms of your career skills, in terms of your relationships, in terms of your family, etc. Not only the health, but that's
Mhm.
all those things that help you to be stronger in case there is a crisis.
Yeah,
It will never make you invincible. No one is
yeah,
invincible, but it can make you stronger. And because there is not a huge amount of focus on that. We are
yeah,
all counting the cases, comparing the number of cases we have, the number of people in hospital, the number of people that have unfortunately lost their lives, what is the percentage of efficiency of the vaccine, etc.
yeah,
We are all thinking about that, but no one is thinking, okay, the only thing that is actually in my control is not the vaccine, uh, it's not whether or not I will catch it. It's my immune system, and how can I do that as well in other aspects of my life. That's
yeah.
it's maybe there we miss a bit of an opportunity to improve there, I think.
Yeah, I think you are exactly right because all these things that you're talking about really goes to boost your mind and your life and the way you're dealing with the crisis, like a crisis management. So
Yes.
like what I was saying is, you know, with this pandemic situation that we are facing now, once if it's over, I think the opportunity of us having conversations will be less. I don't think I will be able to call you up because you're going to be with your job, with your baby, with your wife, and I'm going to be really busy flying here doing this. And I think then we would have missed out an opportunity of really like getting to know one another, for that,
Yeah.
yeah, for that opportunity
I
to really
also.
have a conversation, to even be talking about this thing that yeah. So my next question to you is, Diogene, now that you talk about you have this experience in Belgium, and then search for a better job, and with the opportunity that your company has given you, you're able to seek a better life in Montreal. Tell us your life in Montreal, the environment. Is it any better than when you were in Belgium? And of course, you did talk about a part about your professional job makes a huge difference for you to help you integrate. So tell us some of these aspects.
Yeah. So it is the perspective of someone that is in arrived there in his late 20s, early 30s, in Montreal. So my aspirations were more in terms of from a professional perspective, opening up my mind, and from a cultural perspective, see a little bit the North American mindset and mentality. So from that perspective, yes, I can say my life was better, but that's just because of what I wanted out of life, not in general. Maybe the things that were that I can say feel a bit better in general could be you have a higher sense of safety in Montreal. It's pretty it's pretty safe. People are very, how can I say that, people are very polite. It can be stupid what I say, but yes, it's true. People are very cordial and polite with each other. I saw that actually across the whole of Canada, and also there is that open mind in terms of you can be whatever you whoever or whatever you want. You have that feeling. But maybe it could be that it was a movie that I was making in my head, because now that I'm a bit older, I'm thinking that I could have also been whoever I
Okay.
wanted when I was in Belgium. So again, I think sometimes when we compare, when people compare cities or countries where they live, we always have to take the perspective of the person, and what they want and what they think about. But one thing is sure. In Canada and in Montreal and in Quebec, there are a lot of there are a lot of how can I say that, there is a lot of there are a lot of big projects going on where they need more people, more qualified
Mm,
people. So
yeah.
maybe that's a difference with Europe, where Europe is a pretty crowded, and that means that there are a lot of professional opportunities for immigrants, people who want to think about moving there. Uh, that's one thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that you spoke two layers. One is that you thought that your experience in Montreal, physiologically and mentally, you felt better. It could be due to two facts. It could be, yes, the environment is that people are much more accepting, and you felt that you could integrate due to various factors, job, what you want out of life, or maybe you are more mature. And then the other one is that maybe it was just a movie that you were playing in your brain, right? The other one is the perception, which I thought is so beautiful. You said it. You could write a book on it.
Mhm.
But I would think that, can you talk about the first part first? If it is true that there is such a, it's not a movie, but
Mhm.
it's a true situation, right? Hypothetically, it's true. It could be true or it could be fake, right? You're saying that both ways. So
Mhm.
let's talk about the first incident. If it's true that this community or this society, the people, make you feel that you kind of like could ease inside the the community or the environment. It makes it easier to breathe for you. Like, tell
Mhm.
us what are the three factors that made you feel that, hey, uh, if now that you play the movie in your brain, right? Yes, Montreal is better because of one, two, three, and then this other country could adopt this one, two, three. Now, what is this one, two, three factors that you think would make the community, make you feel better? What are the three factors?
Yeah, so three factors. So first one, you when you're in Montreal, and I think I'm not the only one who would say that, a lot of people, they would feel directly home when they are there, just because the city is just welcoming. Because you first, I went in the summer. The first visit I made was in the summer, but so it's much easier than in the winter. I have to be honest there, but there you see in Montreal, younger people, older people, men, women, people from various backgrounds, but you can see that they are completely living who they are. They are not holding back on who they are, and what type of identity they want to affirm in public. So you feel like, okay, anybody can
Okay, I don't
just feel
understand
home.
that. I don't
So it's the
understand what I don't understand. Explain, what do you mean by they did not affirm the identity? I don't understand. Can you explain a little bit more?
oh, you just when I was in the, it's very simple. When I was in the metro, or the subway, depending on
Yeah,
how people call it,
yeah.
uh, I will be I don't know, I will be sitting down in the summer, and I would see people with traditional clothes from India, traditional clothes from Africa, Caribbean, people more from locals, so from Quebec, from Canada, and no one is actually necessarily watching the other person, or
Staring at
thinking,
them.
oh,
Okay,
why is the person dressed like this, etc.
I
Just
see.
anyone
Fantastic.
is anyone, and everybody respects everybody. So you quickly feel at home. You quickly feel like, okay, here it's cool to stay. So that would be the very first factor. Second factor, um, in terms of professionally, I would think, um, you have a work environment where people also want to make sure that you are properly welcomed. So that was my experience. I hope it can be the experience of anyone else that come.
Properly
But
welcome.
this is also something that I loved over here. And the third is the safety, as I said. But again, when I say safety, that doesn't mean that in Brussels every day you can be attacked. No, it's not that at all. I've been very rarely. I don't even remember if I have ever been really attacked in Brussels. But
Yeah.
um, what I mean is more like safety of your belongings. The people steal also in Montreal, but still those things you
It's
see
a
that you can
general feeling of
the general
security.
feeling, yes,
Okay. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, general
Yeah.
feeling that if you forget your phone on the I don't, on your seat in the metro, someone will tell you, hey, you forgot your phone, for example. You have more chances to have that.
Wow.
This is what I mean.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are I think the Prime Minister Trudeau should give you a prize
Oh my God.
for
Can you
promoting this on the internet.
ask him to do it? Thank you.
Justin Trudeau, even you saying that, it's wonderful. Right, you say these three factors. Now let us explore these three factors, which is so important for all of us listeners. Number one, I think you're coming to this environment or a community whereby they are not seeing you like an alien, right? They're not seeing that people are wearing their traditional clothes, they stare at you, or they did not reject that and did not exclude that, right? You were saying that,
Hmm.
right? Exclude. So there isn't a feeling of being excluded. Am I right?
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
And then because there's no feeling that you are being excluded by being staring at you, that you are different, or making some remarks, or walking away from you, because it was such an easy kind of environment, it's almost like non-existent. You don't even feel it, right? But it
Hmm.
makes a huge difference for you to
Huge.
ease in. It's huge. I mean, if you talk about it, it's a huge thing, if you're looking at the different kinds of society. And then you were talking about, and then what does it also mean? It also means that if that part is not being imposed, like, people exclude you. So it makes you feel that, hey, unconsciously, you are starting to be able to integrate, right? It's unconscious, right? When we talked about earlier, when you were young, you were unconscious of a lot of things, right? But when you grew older, you became more conscious. But can you imagine now you're older, but and you came to this environment that made all these factors unconscious? How beautiful is this kind of a community and feeling, right? It is
Yeah.
a wonder. If you think about it, it's like it's a one it's huge. And I think if we were to bring back in a conversation and the people who are listening at large, whoever it is, the minister, is the prime minister, I don't care who is listening in, but because these are things that intangible values, these are the intangible goods, right? If you study economics, these are intangible things. Intangible
True.
things that adds so much value that you can't put a dollar sign on it, isn't it? That makes the fabric uh, of the
Yes.
place. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And what?
Treasure.
Yeah, and one of my interviewees, he was saying, my guest, he was saying that this is the fabric that is so important. But the thing is that we have forgotten, right? We are saying that we forgot because we didn't have time. Like for example, Diogene, we're having this conversation. I am enjoying my conversation with you tremendously
Yeah, me
because
too.
you're going into such a topic, such an area that it is so little bit talked about or practiced because in a whole government, people are only talking about chasing after GDP, right? Economic growth, jobs, which is very important. But people have forgotten the other soft aspects, the intangible values, right? Can you imagine if you come to this country, right? You come from Belgium, you come to this country, Montreal, you feel very much integrated. You didn't have this feeling of stress, which is unseen. Stress could be unseen. Stress doesn't mean that you have to have so many emails, and all this, right? There's a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
kind of stresses. But when
Hmm.
it's not there, you don't feel it. When it comes, then you
Hmm.
feel
Hmm.
it.
Yeah,
There are different
yeah, it's
factors.
true.
Yeah, in I think in management they call it the hygiene factors and the satisfiers. So now, but these are the things that make you felt that your life is much more at ease. That I feel this is a better place because you are living in this area whereby these factors are unseen, undefined, and it's already inside the fabric of a
Hmm.
community, and people accepted it.
Yes.
I mean, how beautiful
Yeah.
is that? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you are being thrown back again to a place whereby everything is just a thought. You can't do this. You can't do this. You're being watched. Someone say something. You that kind of unknown stress that is in your brain, and then whatever stresses that makes you as a migrant, you are only trying to chase your economic life because you are saying that, okay, these are some of the things that I make out of my life. But hey, the other things are things about quality of life. Aren't you also
Hmm.
enjoying quality of life? And that makes you much more motivated to integrate and then contribute to the community, to be part of the community, and then also share. And then suddenly there's this bi-directional unseen sharing between different culture and it becomes flowing, and all these
Yeah,
are
totally agree.
unseen, right? So
Yeah.
if you have a community like that, and if we are talking about this as factual, documented, right, not a movie that's playing in your head. Now let's say just let's say it is real. Now we take this model and we bring it forward to some society that doesn't have this model. I think then you will start to measure if this model goes to society that does not have this model, then the unseen intangible economic benefits and the level of what social, societal good, social benefits
Yeah.
of it will be immeasurable because as I've said, you can't put a dollar of value
On
on
that.
this. Yeah, can you imagine? Isn't it like heaven and earth? Can you imagine? I'm trying to say.
It will be the yes, it will be the ideal world for sure. It's just that I think that every region, every country has its own progression to make.
Of
So
course.
for some countries, there are some
Yeah.
other priorities. So maybe some country where safety is a concern, but like a huge concern, like at a higher level than what you would have in the Western world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may focus on other things. So
You make such a
it's
good
really
politician.
no, but it's true. It's really it's really a
Because you're also being
thing.
politically
So
correct. No, but it's true, Diogene, you are true, exactly, because every country progresses so differently. And every country is having such economic and societal impact from the outside and from the inside, you know, from every direction. I mean, you're talking about like in Singapore, we are such a small country. I mean, like just to share with you, Singapore is such a small country. It's just an island, but we have got about 7 million now, 7 million of residents and born and bred Singaporeans, and uh, about 5 million of locals, and about 2 million of people who is like transitioning, 2 million of professionals transitioning and
wow,
students,
that's a lot.
etc. So really, it's a really small city, and then there are pressures of job, pressures of sharing of communal area, competition of space, and competition of being at ease, etc. And you go to the malls, it's so flooded. There are, and I'm trying to say there are, there are. But yeah, I think your point has given our conversation so much more value because of this thing, the social fabric. When number one, you are a migrant going into a receiving country, right? And the receiving country, there are two types of way that they could receive you, isn't it?
Hmm.
And there are two types. One is that on a communal level, we're talking about communal environmental things that you couldn't feel it. But when you look back, then you realize, hey, yeah, you analyze it, then you realize, hey, it was the communal thing that you made you feel safe. You're not being looked at as if you are different. You're not being excluded. You're kind of made it into gelling into like, okay, I'm not like something that is like a thorn out of the grass. It's like I am not like suddenly being made to be so different from the rest. I'm made to be accepted, the level of acceptance. So these are some of the factors of the receiving country, and this environmental. Then there's other things about personal experience, right? One-to-one experiences, right? Is there any one-to-one experiences that you would like to share with us? Your
Uh,
experience in Montreal, either challenge, that when you are challenged, that when you are like, you felt that you are being in a very,
I will have to search.
oh,
I will have to
wow,
think about.
okay.
Uh,
I mean, that's a good
about
question, right?
really
You don't have any cases whereby you are being,
because
that's interesting.
a challenge in Montreal. I it should have come out automatically if there was a big one because most of my life pretty much is working, um,
Yeah,
trying to travel. Now it's impossible, but trying to travel,
mm,
having some fun with friends,
fantastic.
and
Okay. Yeah,
so
yeah. You should
again,
show the
yeah.
video to Justin Trudeau for the Citizen Award.
I'm not. Yeah, there's no place that is perfect, but
Yeah.
I've not had a
Fantastic.
huge
Yeah,
challenge.
fantastic. Is there any tips you would like to give? Um, and
Yes,
you've given quite a lot. For example, mentality wise, right? Do not let anything stop you. You got to feel the need to make your own life. Tell us anything, other tips. Can you give us 3 tips? Uh, Give
yeah.
the listeners and the viewers who
First,
are someone like you
yeah,
3 tips of
yeah.
success.
Wherever you go, whichever country you go, try to network with people that live there or local. So yes, it's always good to go with your own community. So if you're from Uruguay, you might want to find Uruguayan. So that's good. Also try to have people that are living there since a long time and have gone through maybe the same things as you that have already immigrated, but also try to find really local people that might have a
local.
common interest with you. That helps you to blend with the culture and understanding how people view things. So networking is very important. Um, Second is on the it helps, networking will help that, but understand uh, what matters the most economically to find a job. So is that the degree? Is that the language? Is that the anything else? Which industries are very much in demand? So, for example, here
Mm,
aerospace. I'm not into that industry, but aerospace industry
mm,
is really in demand. But maybe I don't want to say a stupid
Canada.
thing, but I would think that financial services maybe less in demand of immigrants, but I might be wrong, etc. For example, I am in information technology, and definitely there is a huge demand for people in that industry. And third, it's I want to say it's a joker because it depends on the people. So if someone that has a small kid, they will want to know what's the school system. But someone who doesn't want to have kids don't care about school system. So really look according to your priority of life, your current priority of life in the next now to the next 5 years. What's the system? What's the education system? If you have kids, uh, if it's just about entrepreneurship, how are the rules in order to build a business? If it is I don't know, if it is doing a professional sport, how they are treating sports people there. That's what you have to look at. But I think it always starts by by networking. That will help for everything. By the way, if I speak about Canada or Montreal, very often to have sometimes to have a job, often to have to find a condo to rent, apartment to rent, they ask you for a reference. They ask you for
Mm,
someone that you know. So
yeah.
that's very important to know people.
Yeah, yeah, because I think what you say is so important. You know, all these three tips. Number one, the people that you know, and the people that you know you've talked about can be a support group, people who have been here, that migrated here for a long time, and people who are locals. I want to ask you, what are the steps specifically in integrating? Did you take any actions besides just being like networking? Is there any steps that you took to consciously integrate into a community?
Consciously integrate.
For
No,
example,
honestly,
yeah, I mean here, like for example,
so
in
for
Singapore, tell me, is there any steps that you take?
yeah, the start when I arrived, I was looking at there was a there was a meetup.com where you can meet up with groups of people that have
Oh,
specific
okay,
interests or
fantastic.
just
Meeting,
migrants.
okay,
Meetup.com.
yeah, meetup, okay,
Uh, I think it
good.
exists everywhere in the world.
Yeah,
There were some groups of people that were coming from France and Belgium, with whom
yeah,
I would meet people.
yeah.
That was the very first things that
Wow.
that I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have this, and I think, for example, in Singapore, we've got some community activities in certain areas that you live. I would say that always look out for some of these events. You have this event for the old people, go and volunteer to help out the old. You know, see some things that you
Yeah,
can be
volunteering.
involved with
Yeah,
and give to give to the
volunteering.
community, yeah,
Yes,
to give
it's very
it to
important.
give it forward. So I would think that, you know, some of these small little steps and actions will go a long way, you know.
Hmm.
To me, like what you say, go for all these groups, because number one, it gives you a psychological support. You don't feel alone. You can always ask a lot of questions: where to go, how to live, how the people are behaving, you know, how to be accepted, etc., etc. Wherever, not just in Montreal. I mean, in any countries, right? You always go for these groups, right? I think that kind of thing, you have given a very good tip. Go for these groups in that local city or town that you are working with to get a support group. For me, I would always say, go and look out for notices that is being pasted on the wall when you're walking down the street. To say, what is that? Maybe they will say something
You're
about,
right.
which is very local. Go and find out what is that. That's how you integrate,
Yeah.
right? Maybe they have a little news. But it's these kind of things that is not in the newspapers, it's not in the headlines that let you kind of integrate. They will say,
You're
okay,
right.
there is
You're
this
right.
event for the old folks, right? Or there's a dancing event, or they need a volunteer for cooking, or they need something that is a social thing, that, or they need someone to help out to I don't know, do something in the kitchen for the community or thing. I will always say, go and volunteer and talk to these people. I mean, I would love it. It's so much fun. It is so much fun. Yeah.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, Diogene. I've taken up your time about 1 hour and a half, which is so good. I feel that these conversations should not start here, right? And it definitely should not end here. It should continue and continue with many people. I've learned something from you, and then hopefully you have learned something about Singapore.
Oh yes, yes. I've learned about Singapore, and I still want even more to visit it. Also, maybe for the audience, the listeners, maybe you will put it in the show notes. I don't know, but they can also get in touch with me directly on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. Can
Which
send
is
me a direct
below.
message, or they can. Yes, yes, or they can also get in touch with me on my professional email in case they have questions about immigration to
Oh,
Canada.
thank you.
Also,
Wonderful.
um, working in the information technology industry, because I'm active in the information technology industry. I'm doing business consulting. I also have a podcast in consulting called Consulting Lifestyle, and yeah, I'm open to help. So
Fantastic. I'm
thank you.
so glad that you are so proactive and initiative to give this information out. And I'm sure that, and I'm letting you know that people who are watching the internet, when I look at the analytics, they come from all parts of the world. Russia, Philippines, India, Denmark, Finland, everywhere. So, our audience are everywhere because we're talking about the technology. We're talking about YouTube. Definitely, we are having this conversation with the world. Our viewers
Exactly.
and listeners are everywhere. Even in my podcast, they are all from all over the world. I'm like, wow, so stunned.
Exactly. So yes, I really
Yeah,
hope
and
it
they're
has
writing
helped
to
at
me.
least
Yeah,
one
they're right.
person.
Just like you have a podcast, right? They're from all over. When you
Yeah.
look at the analytics, it's like, wow, this is how the world is going. There's nothing is going to stop. I mean, you can't really stop people moving. Just like you can't
Exactly.
stop Google.
Mhm.
Because people are now in search of food. Information is like food, right? People can't survive without this food of information.
It's the new. Yeah.
Whatever you can't,
It's
you
the.
put for information, for whatever, information for entertainment, information for searching anything, information or searching for social life or whatever. It's all this food that you need. It's almost like the air,
Yeah.
right? If one
Yes.
day, I should say, as long as Google and the internet exists, people are going to move much more than ever. So on that note, I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm having such a wonderful time with you, Diogene. So I want to wish you all the best
You.
for you and your new role as a dad, and your new
Thank you very much.
life for your kid there. And say hello to your wife, and all the best and all the love from this part of the world, Singapore.
Thank you very much, Vicky, and I hope it has helped your audience. So looking forward to do it again. Thank you very much, Vicky.
Oh yeah, I would definitely like to talk with you in a few days to 2021. One more year. I'm going to talk to you next year.
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely next year.
Which is just a few days
Perfect.
away.
Indeed.
Merry Christmas. Do you have anything to say
Okay.
for the New Year and the Christmas? For anyone?
Uh,
For the festive season,
a
for the
little.
year-end season? Anything you want to say to anyone? For the world?
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever has happened for you this year, try to see what is inside your control and try to make it a better year next year. And
Yeah.
nothing can nothing can, if you're an immigrant and people are telling you you cannot do things, actually nothing can stop you. You're not what people are telling you. You are who you decide to be. So try to be the person you want to be, and I'm pretty sure the year 2021 will be better than your 2020.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much for these words of encouragement, and I'm sure 2021 is going to open to new hopes for a lot of
Yes.
us. Thank you, and
Thank
I'll
you.
see you again 2021.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye
I'm
bye.
just going to text you again,
Okay.
right? Okay,
Yes.
right. Bye. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
all this. Bye. See you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't
Bye bye.
forget Singapore.